Coronavirus cases are spiking. More than 2,500 new cases reported in our state and the highest 7-day positivity rate since early June. 45 more people have died, including a 14-year veteran of the Baltimore City Fire Department. Despite the rising numbers, the Anne Arundel County executive admits they're not as bad as once projected in his county. That is why he's issuing a new executive order allowing indoor dining. WJZ is live. Annie Rose Ramos explains this decision. Annie Rose.
Hi, Lynn. Good morning. We have been following this case from the beginning, and in his final decision, the judge was critical of the county, saying the numbers just don't justify the actions. As one restaurant owner and plaintiff tells WJZ, he hopes this decision will bring about the economic relief they so desperately need.
We entered this to keep restaurants open. We didn't care whether it was a judge, a county executive, or anybody who was going to do that for us.
James King has relieved his court battle against Anne Arundel County to keep his restaurants open for indoor dining is over.
This has always been a fight for our employees, and it remains to be a fight for them because ultimately they're the ones impacted more than any of us.
County Executive Stuart Pittman abruptly changed his mind about a dining ban after testifying before Judge William Mulford, who chastised the county and said that Dyer Hospital projections they used were flawed. Pittman issued a new order allowing indoor dining just hours before Mulford was set to rule in this case, which was then dismissed.
And he said, well, please do it before I have to make this ruling, because we could put down our weapons, stop arguing, and move forward.
Pittman reserved the right to close down dining again if the COVID numbers surge, and King said he would consider fighting any new restrictions, but both sides hope it doesn't come down to that.
I'm an optimist. I think it's unlikely that we're going to be shutting them down and going back to curbside, and I'm more looking forward to getting them back to 50%.
Brian Bolter owns several restaurants in Annapolis and feels unfairly targeted.
Thankfully, this judge said, stop, show us. And when the cards were on the table, the county didn't have a valid argument.
Bolter believes Pittman pulled out of a losing lawsuit before the judge could rule and set a precedent limiting the county's authority.
But as long as they're not relying on scientific data and can't prove it, we're going to continue to fight.
Now, Tim, part of the county executive's new order requires restaurants to collect contact information from all of their dining customers to help with contact tracing, along with capping those delivery fees at 15%. Reporting live, I'm Annie Rose Ramos for WJZ.
Thank you, Annie Rose. Restaurants here in Baltimore are reacting to Anne Arundel County's new executive order on indoor dining. Amy Kawada now with what they're saying.
We didn't know when this all started. I genuinely thought it was going to be 2 weeks, and here we are literally almost a year later.
In Shannon Maddox's 31 years of working at Mount Washington Tavern, having to temporarily close the doors of the restaurant is something she never imagined.
We came back strong. We had a lot of, we were doing really great with carry out and delivery, and then we had the second resurgence.
Due to the pandemic, some restaurants in Baltimore City have announced on social media they will be temporarily closed going into the new year.
It's just been hard now with the weather.
Maddox says after having to close all in-person dining for a second time this year, the owners made the tough decision to close the restaurant's kitchen until the city's indoor dining restrictions are lifted. The Restaurant Association of Maryland tweeting Wednesday on Anne Arundel County's victory for restaurants maintaining 25% capacity. Now they're calling on Baltimore City, Montgomery, and Prince George's counties to do the same. In Fells Point, the general manager of the Point, Terry Chetlett, says they're just barely getting by with limited business hours to 3 days a week.
Most of the restaurants on this strip aren't even open during the week. A lot of them haven't even been open since we got shut down, too, because it's just not worth it for anybody.
Chetlett, along with others, are pushing to follow Anne Arundel County's footsteps to reopen in-person dining.
Make fines higher, shut down businesses, make the consequences a lot larger. It would just make everybody safer instead of people going to house parties.
And you can still support our local restaurants here throughout Baltimore City, but remember, you can only do so through carry-out, delivery, or drive-through services. For WJZ, I'm Amy Kawada.
Many people are waiting to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and distribution is not going as planned. More than 36,000 people have been vaccinated in Maryland, but that is far less than the 150,000 doses allocated to the state. Doctors blame the federal government.
There really hasn't been much investment from the federal side in helping states to get the vaccines into people's arms. States don't have the dollars and they don't have the resources to just figure all of this stuff out on their own.
Earlier in the month, Governor Hogan said the Maryland National Guard would help local health officials with giving out the vaccine.
About 6:38 now, the $600 stimulus checks are on the way to those who are eligible. Direct deposits will continue into next week, and paper checks are being sent out. Anyone who made less than $75,000 last year or $150,000 as a couple will get those payments. The House passed a bill upping the payment to $2,000, but the Senate has yet to vote on higher checks.
Marylanders could see delays in their unemployment benefits after they lapsed because of President Trump's hesitation to sign the economic relief package. While the U.S. Department of Labor says there won't be any gap in payments, the state says it cannot move forward without more information from leaders in Washington. President Trump did not sign the bill into law until Sunday, a day after those benefits expired for nearly 12 million Americans.
Frustrating and it's confusing.
I'm crossing my fingers that there's hope in the new year and that we start seeing some real leadership.
The Maryland Department of Labor says as soon as it gets more information, it will update its online beacon system and send an email with instructions.